traveling is all the same, right?
It is.
Laurel House is on board in our 757, 47,
What about
37.
a Dreamliner?
Maybe a Dreamliner coming from Charleston.
Much better.
Yeah, we're flying all over the globe
It is
today.
the dream when Laurel is on the show.
Truly is.
I mean, Laurel, really.
Yes, thank you. So, traveling to the Sahara, I wonder how that's changed.
I don't know, but I'm sure Dennis Feeheley does.
All right, let's say hi to Dennis. Good morning.
Hi, great to be here.
Nice to have you on board. So, your book,
Travelin Man.
Travelin Man, Across the Sahara and Beyond, it sounds like you went all over the world 30 years ago, or at least through a very unusual place.
In one pair of pants. That must have been really uncomfortable.
And not so
that was. Yeah, I did a lot of traveling at a very young age. When I finished high school, I just had this desire to travel and explore the world, and it was 30 years ago, so the world was much bigger, more of a mystery. There was no internet or cell phone or fax machines, and you could really get lost out in the world, and I love that adventure. So I found the study program in England. I planned to go to England for 1 year, do some traveling, and then come home. Well, I ended up staying 3 years in England. I studied 2 years at Oxford University. I played rugby there, and 3 years in England. During those 3 years, I traveled to about 30 countries in Europe and Africa, Middle East, before I was 21 years old. And I was a college student, so I traveled very, very cheaply.
Well, how did you travel? I mean, there wasn't inexpensive airfare back then.
Well, there was at that time. Freddie Laker started standby flights across the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, yeah. And
I could fly across the Atlantic for $129 by standby.
Wow.
And I flew probably 15, 20 times, used that flight across the ocean there. And then traveling, I just had no money, so I had no choice. So I would sleep outside. I hitchhiked, I think I estimated about 10,000, 12,000 miles.
Well, did you hitchhike across the Sahara?
Yeah, actually hitchhiked across the Sahara, over 1,000 miles. Didn't plan to, but we had no other choice. That's what we did.
What types of vehicles were picking you up?
Camels.
Camels?
I saw quite a few camels, but no, I had a couple rides. But there's very, very few cars in the Sahara, and I got stuck way south in the Sahara. We planned to go northern route along the Mediterranean coastline, but something happened at the border in Algeria, and this soldier picked us up, and he took us dead south into the Sahara. We were completely lost, and that kind of set us off in this incredible adventure. We didn't know where we were going. We got blocked by the Sub-Saharan War. We ran out of money. The Polisario guerrillas were controlling the only road through there. We had to get past them, and then just a real adventure from there. And from that, we started hitchhiking, and there were very, very few cars. One car would come by after a long time, but they always picked us up. It was the best hitching I've ever done.
Now, how do you bribe your way when you're on such a thin budget through guerrillas and a war zone?
It was tough. We were hitchhiking, through the Sahara, through Algeria. There'd be one little village and maybe 110 miles of desert, little village, 100 miles village. We kept going from village to village, and these small Muslim villages, they'd never seen foreigners before, but they were very kind to us. But finally we reached one village where we could not go any further. Nobody gave us a ride. They told us the road is closed. Only supplies for the soldiers and the guerrillas are allowed through. So we talked to some of these Arabs on the street, and they led us to this guy. I call him the Scarface in my book. He's a smuggler or something. And anyways, we bribed him to take us through the control point where the Polisario guerrillas were controlling the road.
Were you ever at a point where you were thinking, I think I'm going to die, and I have to come to terms with this real possibility?
Not directly, but kind of as we're going through the trip, in the back of my mind, I just know we're not going to make it back with the money we have.
Right.
It's just, and the further we get, and the further along we get through the Sahara, we finally reach a point we know we can't get back with the money we have, and that led us into a real dangerous situation one night, trying to trade some of our goods with this man we met on the street. But the only way I got back, the reason I got back, was the kindness of a stranger.
And tell me, by the way, because a lot of people who listen to the show are thinking about traveling, but boy, you talk about that part of the world. It sounds kind of dangerous. You got any safety tips for people who are out there doing this kind of thing?
Yeah, sure I do. A few things. One is whenever you're changing money at a money exchange office or a bank or airport, always check that you don't get shortchanged. I've had this happen to me in the Philippines, Vietnam, Korea. When you change your money, they'll give you your money back in exchange. You walk away, you start counting your money, and you're way short. If you come back to the bank, even if you walk just 3 or 4 steps, they won't give you the money back. So always at the counter, stand there and count your money before you leave the counter. And people are often shortchanged, and they don't even know it.
So
They'll find out later they're short.
is it better to exchange money than at your hotel, or is there a place that's safer that you can trust more for money exchange?
Usually at the major banks, probably the safest place.
Okay.
I did it with a lot of money changers and sometimes in the black market.
Or use your ATM, because that these days that seems to get the best rate too.
Yeah, yeah.
But back 30 years ago, they didn't know what ATM was, did they?
No, there's no ATMs at all.
And I imagine that nowadays you probably wouldn't be able to do this on $6 a day, which is how you were able to survive, including 4 crossings by ship. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it would be much tougher now. Also, those countries I went through, I'm not sure how safe I'd be. Most of the people there are incredibly kind to us in these small little villages. We'd walk in the village, and I felt like Elvis. The whole village would come out and want to shake my hand and touch me and follow us around. It was an amazing experience.
Well, it sounds like for our viewers and listeners, if they want to take an adventure, granted it's 30 years in the past, but it's something that sounds phenomenal, pick up Travelin Man Across the Sahara and Beyond. Dennis, thanks so much for joining us today, and good luck with the book, and we hope to have you traveling maybe across the Sahara for your 30th anniversary.
Great, I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much for having me.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have the Shark Lady joining us in studio, Veronica Gray, who is a critically acclaimed director, lifestyle surfer, and shark expert.
And she's going to be in a wetsuit.
Well, all right, can't wait to see that. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.